Do you really need a fucking introduction to this game? Silent Hill 2, a game that's famous for being arguably the greatest survival horror game ever made, if that wasn't obvious from the 500 video essays of it. It's also infamous for Konami treating the franchise like a cocaine farmer in South America. And now, the game's reputation is even at a greater risk than before, because this classic is being remade by the Polish. As you've heard, Silent Hill 2 is being remade by Bloober Team, the studio famous for their hit game, Layers of Fear. So far, the response to everything about this remake has been more up in flames than the pits of hell, but that's to be expected. This game is like Jesus Christ to survival horror fans, and the Black Panther for the mentally ill. Naturally, fans are extremely protective of this game, and want it to be treated like it's the fourth fucking testament. While I am skeptical about this remake cause some of the choices done, I honestly don't like how it looks, but I gotta be honest, y'all are worried about the wrong fucking thing when it comes to this remake. For all the incredible things Silent Hill 2 brings as a game, it brings an equal amount of aneurysm-inducing mechanics. So let me tell you why this dog shit you're seeing right now is a masterpiece. If you aren't familiar with Silent Hill, then I don't blame you. A single copy of each game requires you to sacrifice one of your organs, plus have outdated hardware, or have you do the unthinkable.
You are a pirate!
But to get you up to speed on what Silent Hill itself is, it's a town that's apparently located in Maine and is about as normal as Maine in a Stephen King novel. This once cozy town was home to a beautiful community, but after decades of dark history, it is now nothing. An empty place with no life, forever shrouded in fog, its last signs of anything peaceful are long gone. The roads are empty, no human or wildlife to be seen. The only things you can hear echoing throughout the town are of the supernatural. Anything normal that is left here is decaying. Now you might ask, am I talking about Silent Hill or the average commie block? The place has also become like this pseudo-psychological mindfuck and changes depending on who's in the town. The environment changes, and the place will become inhabited by monsters born from a person's psyche. It essentially reflects anyone's mind for those who enter it. If I were to be in Silent Hill and I saw a walking piece of paper at an abandoned school, it reflects on how I should study for my exams. If you were to see Pyramid Head in this town at any point, it might be because you're a fucking degenerate. The location of Silent Hill is awful because it reflects why you're awful. That's how this series has a stupid amount of titles that take place in the same fucking spot. And in Silent Hill 2, the game stars Leon Kennedy's long-lost sad cousin, James Sunderland. 3 years after the death of his wife Mary Sunderland, which was caused by Ebola or some shit, he receives a letter from Silent Hill that's written by his late wife. And apparently, all it says is that he should come find her in Silent Hill. And he does exactly that. Now, as you might have heard from half of the survival horror game community, this is one of the scariest games ever made. And, yeah, I agree. I've been through many terrifying adventures in my 22 years, like Alien Isolation and Godzilla.exe.
The fuck is this shit?
But what makes Silent Hill 2 more effective than other horror games are two things: the story and location. Now you might say,
Best every fucking game ever made!
which yes, but Silent Hill 2, is, kinda known for that. Now, since I already talked about the town, it makes sense to keep talking about it. Now, since this series has over 10 titles, you'd be surprised how varied the locations are in this series, and especially if you compare this game to the first and third. And Silent Hill here is visually extremely run down, almost rotten to its core. The series is known for its rusty look, but in this game, that's far less seen, having more of an abandoned city type feeling. The town is full of creatures born from our own degeneracy and look like a spot where I might step on a kraken-fisted needle. But what really makes the town of Silent Hill really scary is the constant fucking paranoia of the unknown! Silent Hill 2 makes your mind your worst enemy by fucking with you with its atmosphere. Not being able to see what's in front of you because of the fog, having not a single idea on what you might encounter, and being completely isolated makes your mind fill out the blanks with the worst fucking thoughts. And the game doesn't stop there. It adds more to the tension with its sound design. Not even 5 minutes into the game, it's like, what the fuck was that? Silent Hill 2 was the first game to really master psychological horror because of how it uses the fear of the unknown against you, even more so than the first game, I'd say. You might see every single monster the game has, but still it makes your own imagination one of your biggest weaknesses. It establishes all you need to know for any moment you are in, but adds just enough mystery to build suspense, and it might be with just one single sound effect. This hallway in the apartment, this courtyard in the prison, this spot in the hospital, all locations I wish I could set on fire, because these fucking terrify me. Your first playthrough will definitely be the most memorable, as it was for me. At some points in the game, I had to be in a call with someone because I was straight up fucking shitting myself.
Would you like?
Could be fun to play it sometimes.
Would you like a drink?
Sir, may I have milk, please? Milk?
No, this is a bar.
Oh,
I killed
where
my
did
wife,
the
you
woman
know.
go?
Oh, she did.
Even if you have finished the game and go for a second or third playthrough, you can still feel really unsure if you've seen everything. And if a game can still make me scared on repeat playthroughs, then its use of horror is masterful. I replayed the game for this video and somehow this hallway, this exact same hallway that I already mentioned, still fucking scared me! The game never lets you have a moment where you don't feel safe. Something might happen in these areas, and most of the time, nothing does. The game mastered the psychological horror genre, and years later, graphics and tech have aged, but the way it messes with your mind, and thus your imagination, that will always stay the same, no matter what year you play it in. The game's atmosphere is incredible, and it really can't be felt or even properly described in video alone. But the one thing in this game that has more videos analyzing it than JFK's assassination is the story.
Pizza.
I think at this point, Silent Hill 2 is practically Donnie Darko for horror game fans, because every inch, every crease stain has been studied and been discussed for like 2 decades now. You might unironically see someone theorize how every step James takes in Silent Hill subtly alludes to the idea that he might be looking for his wife.
I can't find pussy anywhere.
But again, I can't blame them. The story is extremely thought-provoking and almost philosophical. It takes such a simple premise and goes really deep with it. Like, fucking beyond the Mariana Trench deep. This fucking screenplay might be read by a Donkalosius right now. The environment, characters, enemies, music, puzzles, items all contribute to the story, which all center around James Sunderland. You're running around trying to find this guy's wife, and you start to become wary of this character you're playing as. The way he talks to the other people he meets in the town, like Eddie and Maria, he's just fucking weird. He talks like a school shooter.
Excuse me, can you stop your yappering? Shut the fuck up, please.
You question his devotion to finding the truth due to how Silent Hill is treating him. You're confused as shit for most of the game, finding letters that almost speak to him, writing on walls calling him out, puzzles and enemies relating to his thoughts. The character of Pyramid Head might be more sexualized now than Tracer from Overwatch, but his purpose is clear. He's here to punish James. But for what? You don't really know him yet, you really don't trust him, and everything is revealed in the last hour of the game, when you find out who James really is as a person.
The fuck?
The last 1 hour of the game will have you feel like your third eye opened, because finally, the 6 or 8 hours of this game's story you've been playing finally makes sense now. And thanks to that, when Mary reads her letter at the very end, it feels like you've been hit by a fucking truck.
James, you made me happy.
It's one of those stories that at first glance won't have you that engaged, but as the years go by, you can never stop thinking about it, cause there's so much to it, it's not even funny.
It really isn't.
Silent Hill 2 is a fantastic game, and it's a must-play for anyone who's alive. The oppressive atmosphere and the engaging story is something that most games strive for these days, and something that has been made popular by other more recent titles, even though this thing did it 2 decades ago. I play a lot of games, but it isn't often when I obsess over a game that I've only spent at most 10 hours on. I wish Konami could just fucking port this game or just take the excellent Enhanced Edition fan port and just release it widespread. But no, that would actually make fucking sense. Because of that, I've somehow spent more money on that fucking merchandise than the actual fucking game these things are based on. Instead of a simple working port, we're getting their remake instead. And like I said in the intro, this thing has more doubt to it than anything free for free makes when it comes to the Halo franchise. And that's saying a fucking lot. I can't blame people for feeling this way because the original holds up so well, and the developers for the remake have a track record that's, as the kids would say,
as fuck.
They can easily mess up the story and the atmosphere, especially since they've mentioned how they want to make it more immersive, more engaging, you know, the generic shit we hear these days in video game marketing. Some of the things we saw were pretty concerning, but those issues seem to have been reverted. But to be totally honest, I can't see them fucking it up that much. It's weird to hear what I said now, seeing how much positive reception the remake is getting currently, because of the most recent showcase, which is quite embarrassing for me. I started the project in February, and I was just way more focused on other stuff like my exams, my social life, and etc. I mean, to give you an idea how delayed this video was, tomorrow's my fucking graduation. I really wish I could have released this video sooner, so I could have been like, I told you guys, see, it doesn't look that bad. But you know, I had other priorities. But either way, the points I still bring up with my concerns with the remake, I still think are valid and relevant. So yeah, Silent Hill 2 is almost held up to a fucking mythical level in the survival horror game community that I'm pretty sure that Bulber team is very well aware that they have a gun to their head. If they fuck this up, they're done, and I would be surprised if they were not aware of that. I'm sure they're treating the story and atmosphere as well as they possibly can. It's the thing people care the most about. However, I think they're going to fumble one thing, and it's something no one really talks about, and it's that how they're going to change everything bad about the original. You see, Silent Hill 2 isn't a perfect game, but it's a game where its flaws are actually surprisingly complementary to the experience. The more recent fans haven't gotten a chance to play this game because, you know, putting hard for Konami. And most essays don't go over the shit parts of the game. Why not? So most people haven't got the chance to really play Silent Hill 2, which is the greatest horror game of all time, but also the greatest fucking comedy of all time.
Oh yeah. This is the challenge that I required. Oh, he's back up. He's back up. And he's dead. And what?
The combat in this game is definitely a sight to behold. It's either you shoot a guy to death or beat a guy to death, in a weirdly large variety. James is a fucking loser, the type of guy that will listen to a red pill podcast and have a porn addiction. But yet, in this game, he can carry more weapons than fucking Master Chief. He has a piece of wood, pistol, pipe, shotgun, hunting rifle, and a giant fucking sword, and that's not counting all this garbage in his left pocket. Additionally, when you replay this game, he gets a fucking chainsaw, and that's not counting when you get fucking 100% and you get a fucking fart gas or something that instantly kills everyone. This is a bit excessive, considering that there are only 5 enemies in this game, 8 if you count the bosses, 4 if you don't count the bosses, and don't count one of the enemies, cause it's literally just a fucking bug. I'm making it sound like you're a space marine that was just dropped into Silent Hill, but it isn't. Combat is just holding down a button and then you just spam to kill or whatever. And the enemies in this game aren't that much deeper. All of them, while visually iconic, have the same AI, where they just walk up to you and hit you. Be it with a fucking pipe or a queef. That's it. The only thing that makes them different is their subtle purpose in the story, which is definitely deeper than their coding. The bosses are shit too. Pyramid Head is the most iconic image in the entire franchise, yet is so fucking stiff and moves the same pace as a sloth. That is not a joke. Also, side note, you horny fucks made Pyramid Head's creator disown his own fucking creation. He couldn't predict the fucking degeneracy. If you do plan on playing this game somehow, I highly recommend you to put the action on easy difficulty, because the enemies take about a half a fucking hour to kill individually. I mean that jokingly, but also literally too. The final boss is a pain in the fucking ass in the end. Like, I'm sorry for killing him, Mary, but how the fuck was a pillow more effective than 100 fucking shotgun shells? I'm not saying the combat should be like, I don't know, Doom. It's just a bit distracting when the fear of the unknown is a bit damaged by the reality of WoW. These horrors beyond my imagination sure are pretty easy to kill and avoid.
Oh, 2 triangle heads, okay. There's only one way to deal with 2 triangle heads.
Speaking of gameplay, the puzzles. Now the fact that this is a survival horror game, like Resident Evil, they're going to be a bit goofy. I replayed the game on hard mode when it came to the puzzles, and they're either piss easy, or what the fuck? There's the grandfather clock where you just have to align the time right and they make it obvious which line is meant to be which. Then there's this face thingy where you just have to keep moving it until you get the right one. It's simple and does require you to think. A little bit. And there's the fucking coin puzzle. When I replayed this game for the video, this puzzle took me like, what, 20 minutes? When I did it the first time, it took me over a fucking hour! To clarify, it's not the coins that make it a bitch, it's actually finding the coins. For one coin, I had to throw a heavy object into the garbage, to get it. Now I want to ask, what would you consider a heavy object? Now I want you to pick the following heavy objects that you would throw into the garbage to get this tiny fucking coin. A dumbbell. B, an anvil. C, a whale. D, Pyramid Head's fat ass that was nursed in Dead by Daylight. E, my fat ass. F, 6 cans of orange juice. It's F. F is fucking stupid enough to actually make sense. Sometimes the game can really fucking drag because I don't know how the fuck to get out. Because stupid shit like a can of orange juice is the reason why. I originally thought that maybe I'm just fucking stupid, but no! Most people that play this game feel like a fucking headless chicken. The first time I played this, I was fucking dumbfounded. Going to one area is easy enough, but getting out of it isn't. There's the infamous combination of items in the prison area to open with that one door. You need to combine a horseshoe with a lighter and a wax doll? I was running all over the place trying to figure out what the fucking do, and this is the combination. What's next? Do I combine skills and compound to make fucking fireworks? The jump in mental gymnastics in some of these puzzles gaslighted me into thinking that I'm just a fucking idiot, to the point I managed to overthink a simple keypad puzzle, so much so that it took me 40 fucking minutes. I wanted to quickly add this, but one criticism that has been thrown at the Silent Hill 2 remake is the key prompts that indicate that you can pick up an item. I'm not gonna name any names, but one comment said that this is stupid because Silent Hill 2 managed to help the player locate the items through James's body language, art direction, and the camera. Which is complete bullshit. These, I guess, hints are so fucking subtle that you can easily miss them. Especially when you're on edge because, you know, it's a horror game, most people are scared. And when the game does make it obvious you can pick up something like having the camera focus on it, you have to be right next to the goddamn thing, so the camera zooming on it is useless. Plus, you can turn the prompts off in the remake, so who cares about this fucking thing? And lastly, finding items in Silent Hill 2 is a pain in the ass and always will be. I said what I said. Also, let's not forget the acting. This is one part that has been joked to death, but I can't help myself. You know, the script is really good when it can be so thought-provoking, but yet a comedic fucking masterpiece.
Anyway, I gotta run.
You're going out there alone?
Yeah.
Eddie?
The performances are quite bad. There are some parts that are barely serviceable.
Lost?
And some of the dialogue that was given to them is also pretty funny.
Now it's time to end this.
To be honest, with how genuinely scary and sad this game is, it's honestly good that this game can unintentionally make me laugh my ass off.
Let's party!
Because every time one of these characters opens their mouth, I'm fucking dying.
How can you sit there and eat pizza?
I didn't talk about him, but Eddie, my god, I love this guy. He's just a gift that keeps on giving because the final interaction you have with him is astounding. Akira Yamaoka made his name known throughout the industry with his work on this game. The soundtrack is a near masterpiece, with incredible atmospheric tracks to set the mood and amazing pieces of rock that are just bangers. Love Song is my personal favorite track in the soundtrack, and this part in Promise makes me feel like my pussy is being fingered. And no, I'm not gonna elaborate on what I mean by that. And he also did the sound design for this game, which is, you know, terrifying. And now you might ask, why am I mentioning this out of the blue? Well, simply, because he did the sounds for Eddie, and they are out of this world. First off, his footsteps make him sound like he's an elephant, to really emphasize that he's a fat fuck. As if the game hadn't done that enough already. Every time he takes damage, the file male whimpering.mp3 plays. And following his death, the file eddieclimax.mp3 plays. Akira, you've really outdone yourself. Also, side note, the voice actor for James Sunderland is a huge conspiracy theorist, which To be honest, I can see James being one as well. 2021 James wouldn't have used a pillow to kill Mary. Instead, he would have refused to get vaccinated, and Mary would have just catch COVID from him and died. Mary died of that pandemic 3 years ago. I'm rambling at this point. Anyway, I just want to say that Silent Hill 2 is far from a perfect game, and that's okay. There's surprisingly a lot of stupid things that should be going against it, but it doesn't. If anything, it works better for it, and I love it even more for it. To me, Silent Hill 2 isn't just a deep narrative and pissing and shitting myself because of the atmosphere. It's also this.
Pizza!
I appreciate every aspect about this game, and I feel like the game doesn't get enough credit for its, I guess, flaws, because, well, they help a little bit in my opinion. The funny-ass dialogue serves as almost bits of levity from all the constant isolation, and the combat... Okay, that's just as bad, but it's funny bad. While the puzzles aren't always the best, and exploration to find items can take a while, all the parts about this game that you think would harm the overall experience doesn't. If anything, it works to its advantage. I feel that a lot of horror games can forget that you can do more than just scare people. It doesn't have to be always eerie and miserable. Sure, it depends on what you're going for, and some of my favorite horror games, like Dead Space, don't do that. But I feel like it works for Silent Hill 2, even if it wasn't intentional. When a piece of media can make you feel a variety of emotions, I'm probably gonna remember it more. James is the goofiest guy, yet is extremely deep. It almost gives the character accidental nuance. I can be terrified of the town of Silent Hill, but have brief moments where I can relax and laugh. That's why I think Resident Evil is so successful, because those games are intentionally not that serious, but yet are still scary. To me, this whole package is Silent Hill 2's identity. It's a masterpiece in the way that everything just clicks. It has such a special charm to it that it makes me love it. You play it and you have an incredible time, and when you stop playing it, you still think about it, because of how rich the narrative is. It's a game I honestly think that it shouldn't work as well as it does. There's so many other horror games out on the market, but yet this is still held as the greatest out of all of them. And I think it's for those flaws, if you can even call them that. Now, as for the remake, the story and atmosphere is definitely getting the most attention because those are the things no one can shut the fuck up about, including myself. But Christ, the combat looking like Resident Evil is just a clear attempt on trying to make it more engaging, and it just looks so fucking tedious. Now, this hasn't aged the best because clearly they have given a lot of love to the combat as well, as we've recently seen. I hate that I said that the combat looks like Resident Evil because the only thing that looks like Resident Evil about it is the third-person camera. Now, besides that, I'm still concerned that that the pacing is gonna suffer from the combat being more engaging, or just that there's more of it and you need to focus more on it. I really hope they encourage you to avoid combat, because, you know, I really didn't like fighting anyone in Silent Hill 2, so yeah. And honestly, the thought of the story being taken more seriously than it was before just feels like a step back to me. It's one of those things where I think they didn't realize how the game worked as well as it did, and are accidentally going for something that's gonna make the experience feel a lot different. Now, I don't know if it's gonna be more serious, but I would be insanely surprised if Eddie stays as goofy as he did in the original. I just hope that the performances from the actors, since they're, you know, hopefully good, they don't make the stories come off way too serious like a fucking soap opera. I want to add that the actors in the remake seem to be doing a great job so far. I really have nothing bad to say about them. My only concern now when it comes to the characters is that if there's going to be anything to break up the constant tension and, you know, sadness that is famous for Silent Hill 2. Because I really doubt that there's gonna be really anything lighthearted when it comes to this game, which in itself isn't a bad thing, but again, it just has to be executed properly, and we just have to wait and see. I do have my doubts for the remake, but honestly, I just hope they nail the vision they're going for, because this game will not feel like Silent Hill 2. It's going to be its own unique experience and different from the original. Think the two Resident Evil 4s. Both are great, but one's more silly, fun, and janky, and the other is more serious, action-packed, and fluid. I hope this remake will be like the Resident Evil 4 remake, where it's kind of complementary to the first one. Both versions of games highlight one another and bring out the best from both games. I really hope Bluebird Team sticks the landing for what they're going for, but that remains to be seen. I'm worried, but I feel like I'm more optimistic than most people. Now the video is over. I just want to say that the remake does look good. I can actually say that I'm really excited for this. I think that what we've seen looks great, but it has made people a bit too optimistic funnily enough, after all I said. But I'm only saying this now because I feel like it's just one of those games that if it has just a small thing different to the original, it's gonna have people pissed off, which means people are gonna set themselves up for disappointment. On the internet, it's either this is gonna be amazing or utter dog shit, and this is just a shining example of that phenomenon. But either way, yeah, I think it looks good, and you can just see the passion for the project oozing out of the screen. I think Blooper is mostly gonna stick the landing here, and I can't wait to see it. Besides that, can y'all shut the fuck up when it comes to Angela's face? Oh my god, who gives a shit?